Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're going to be listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast in our 20th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. For 6 decades, they've been doing some great things in our community, whether it's food insecurity, whether it's arts, financial education, you name it, they are shoulder to shoulder. Thrilled to have on SDSU frequent guests. We just had the Daily Aztec on earlier today. We had President Adela De La Torre on chatting about the cool things going on with SDSU West and the Innovation Center, and even more cool folks over here. Wanted to give a shout out to this group for this great recognition, the Carnegie classification. San Diego State, from the time I was going there many years ago in the mid 70s, has absolutely boomed, become one of the top, if not the top, one of the top research institutions in our region, and everything else that comes with it. Anyone who has been a San Diego State graduate at the time I was there, yes, there was running water when I went to San Diego State, has seen what this university has done, whether it's in the research side, whether it's in the AI space, in the science space,
in the arts,
you name it. They've really grown up to be just one of the top-notch universities in our nation, not just in our state. We have Joanna Brooks, Associate Vice President of SDSU, with us, faculty advancement and student success. Joanna, how long have you been at SDSU?
I started at SDSU in 2006 as a faculty member in the English department.
Is that right? Okay,
Yep.
Very, very good. And where were you before that?
I was at University of Texas at Austin.
Oh, okay. Hook 'em horns. All right.
Yep.
So are you more of an Aztec than you still have a little bit of the horns in you or not?
No.
They would have been okay. We get along. Universities get along.
My household's an ancient Bruins fans household, but actually my undergraduate alma mater is Brigham Young University, so I'm a Cougar at heart.
You are a Cougar at heart over there. Good. Joined by your colleague Jessica Barlow, Executive Director of the Center for Regional Sustainability and SAGE Project Faculty Director. How you doing there, Jessica?
Doing great. Happy to be here.
And how long you been at the university?
I joined in 1997.
Oh my God! And in the same area? Or
no, actually, I started. I'm a linguist by training, and I started as a professor in the School of Speech, Language, and Hearing Sciences, and now I'm a professor in the Geography department. It's kind of a wild switch, but just reflecting the kind of work I'm doing now.
How long were you in geography?
I started in 2022 in geography. Yeah.
So one of my all-time favorite professors, okay, and because I have a geography minor at San Diego
awesome.
State, was Ernie Griffin.
Oh yeah,
and the best, a phenomenal teacher, and I'm not sure if Ernie is still. Did he pass away? Don't tell me yes.
I don't know for sure, but he's definitely not at the university anymore.
I know
so,
he's not.
Yeah.
He was great.
Yeah.
And Danny Newell, Executive Director of Career Services, near and dear to our heart. And I'm sure if you know this, one of the organizations that I work with very closely is Junior Achievement and Classroom of the Future Foundation, which is all focused on career pathways in college and all that business. How long have you been in this role?
Oh, thank you for having me. Just a little over 3 years. I moved here from Silicon Valley.
Very, very good. And tell me what you do in the career services.
Sure. We work with students and employers, and we help build these pathways to connect the talent to the demand in the workforce.
Yeah, there's nothing more important than that, and I'm glad to see universities stepping up to the plate in this. You know, we're finally putting money in at the K-12 level and linked learning and, CTE and all those things, and it's great to see that. And your friends in the Community College District do a wonderful job on this. Greg Smith was with us with Adela. He's the chancellor of the San Diego Community College District. Joined by Kirsten Fogel, Vogel, in our 4th year of being a co-host of my Spotlight show, and I'm going to just turn it over to you with all these questions you got to ask Danny, Joanna, and Jessica.
Yeah, let's do it. So let's talk about the Carnegie elective classification for community engagement. That's a mouthful. So who would like to tackle that? What is it? Why is it important? What can you tell us about it?
Great question. So we're very proud that earlier this year, San Diego State University received the distinction of being named a Carnegie elected community engaged university. We are one of just 277 institutions nationwide out of 4,000 who applied. It is a distinction awarded by the Carnegie Foundation to universities that show clarity and intentionality and dedication in the way they engage with the communities they serve. And we were recognized for the quality of our research. Our researchers do extensive community partnered research, addressing health disparities, addressing environmental issues, workforce development, education, but we're also recognized for the work in the classroom, such as what Professor Barlow has done, bringing students into community-engaged research spaces to provide exceptional professional learning. So it's a great honor, and just to put the cherry on top, we are the only U.S. university to be simultaneously community-engaged classified, Research 1 classified, NCAA Division 1, and Hispanic serving, and a PZ, which means Native American, Asian, Pacific Islander serving institutions in the U.S. So it's a rare space we occupy and one we do so proudly.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, when you look at the amount of alumni of San Diego State in this region, I think I could be wrong on this. I want to say there's 150,000, maybe 200,000, or it's a big number in this, just in our region. Higher than that? What are you looking at?
I think so. I think the number I've heard is in the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so obviously there's not too many people you can, talk about 1 degree from San Diego State, basically in this area. I'll, chat with you, Joanna, and then you can add to it, Jessica, and certainly pivot to Danny as well on this. This recognition didn't come because you just started doing this yesterday, correct? How long have you folks been working on these types of projects?
The Carnegie classification is awarded once every 10 years. So
Wow.
this recognition is honoring all of the work done by Danny, by Jessica, by all of our colleagues over the last 10 years. But we were also classified 10 years ago. So literally decades of endeavor, building relationships with San Diego community, building relationships with industry, building relationships with nonprofits, gaining the trust of our neighbors. Have led to this moment.
Yeah, so Jessica, obviously this is near and dear to our heart. I've been doing this community podcast now for 20 years. It was called Internet Radio when we started. I was lucky and honored to be the head of community and public relations for the Union Tribune for many years. So I got a chance to work with a lot of those nonprofits. And depending on which study you're looking at, we have sometimes between 8,000 and 13,000 nonprofits. This depends on which one you want to look at. But Jessica, the work you folks doing and the connection with the community is huge, and there's a lot of work to be done in this. Talk about what makes you most excited about this, and maybe you can talk a little bit about the SAGE project as well.
Yeah, sure. I think, there's the thing about doing community engaged research or community engaged work is that, first of all, the students who get involved in it get really connected to what's happening in their communities. They see what the needs are, what the issues are, where they can add their own capacity to it. But also, while we're doing all this, we see that we're doing a real service to our community partners. So we're working with municipalities, community-based organizations, state agencies, and helping those organizations really achieve their goals, their needs. We're adding capacity to things that are already high priority for them, which is really important to us. We want to make sure that if we're having students doing work out in the community, that we're actually serving the needs of the community and doing the things that community organizations need, adding capacity, like I said, to their existing projects. And so students get to do this and realize, first of all, they're learning about what the needs are in the community, what the challenges are, and then they're also realizing like, oh, I can do this through my classes and really make a difference, while learning at the same time. So, and that's what SAGE Project really does, is it matches these projects with classes.
One of the things that Krista's got a question for you folks too before we get to her on this, and maybe you can address it, Jessica. I'd love to get Danny's 2 cents on this as well. Having done a lot of stuff with SDSU over the years, the empirical evidence is really important to you folks, and data-driven stuff. Heaven forbid we do that, right? And talk about how you measure this success when you work with a nonprofit on any of these topics.
You have to do it in a lot of different ways, and it's mostly not quantitative, numerical. Although we do count things like how much engagement, how much money we've saved a community on, by adding capacity, but it really comes through in the stories that we hear, and the trust, as Joanna mentioned, that comes with our community partners actually coming back to us and saying, hey, we want to work again, we want to collaborate again. That was amazing. And so it's those kinds of things that I really focus in on, because it's that relationship building and that community building that's happening on a kind of a larger scale. So.
Yeah, and Danny, to you on this, and the career services, again, I'm all geeked up about this aspect of it, because we talk about this at the TK level, we talk about it all through the high school experience, and of course now they're in college if they choose to go in that direction. But the ultimate is, are we putting out great citizens that understand how they can, certainly make a living, not easy in San Diego County. We all know that because of affordability. But besides, while you're doing this, what are you doing for the community at large? Kudos to you for doing that. Talk about that aspect of it.
Yeah, so to piggyback off of what was said about impact, one thing that we're doing in career services, we're really pioneering a new model for success metrics. We're looking at all of the work that our colleagues are doing and saying, okay, what skills are being developed and how is this being conveyed to employers? When we talk community, we're working with CBOs, governments, but a large sector is really the business community. We have 70,000 employers that we work with annually.
Wow.
And now what we're measuring is the experience that our students are having in school, is that actually translating to a job? And we're looking at livable wage pathways.
So is it? What's some of the early research telling you?
So what we're seeing now was President De La Torre had established a few years ago a baseline that all of our undergraduate students will graduate with a bachelor's degree. 75% will graduate with a bachelor's degree, having had work experience that prepared them for school or the workforce. And when we assess this, we're now at actually 87%.
Wow. So with that work experience, is the university helping them find those jobs while they're at San Diego State?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. That is a huge thing that we're doing. When I came into this role, we did a reorg, and we now have a team of industry relations personnel. We have public sector identified as a priority sector. We have a liaison to that. We have technology, energy, and so forth.
Right. All right. Well, I'm sitting there. I lied and said I'm going to turn it over to Kristen, but now I'm going to turn it over to Kristen. What questions do you have?
That's fine. So in addition to going to San Diego State, I'm the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc., and so I'm a story gal. And so I'm just curious about some of these stories and these collaborations. So maybe one of you can hit on a particular collaboration or a story from, an individual.
I can talk about one project that we did on brownfields in National City. So just by way of background, brownfields are parcels of land that are either contaminated or they're perceived to be contaminated because of prior use, just so that everybody understands what that means.
Sure.
And they occur in a lot of places that have had a history of a lot of industry. And so places along the port, in National City in particular, Barrio Logan, these are places where we're more likely to see brownfields. And we've been working with National City on brownfields for several years now, and we have engaged as many different people as we can on the work from the community, as well as students on campus. And one of the projects that we did involved getting oral histories and narratives from elders in the community, because that helped us be informed about the history of some of these sites that may sit vacant for decades.
Yes.
So that was, they could talk about how the community changed over time, for example. And we also engaged some elementary school kids on a wetlands action unit in the community near the Paradise Creek Educational Park in National City. And students made drawings. They actually did surveys, and they came up with sort of actions to take to preserve this really important site in National City.
Well, it's so funny you bring that up. One of our frequent guests and one of my good friends is the superintendent of the National School District. She's just retiring.
Yes, I know.
So Leandro is the chair of the Classroom of the Future Foundation Board, which geeks me up with what Danny is doing in this area of it. And they just want a huge sustainability, as you all know, grant. And another frequent guest is Jen from Olivewood Gardens.
Oh, excellent.
And
yes.
who's actually on a sabbatical now. In Harvard. I think you might know that. In this when we come back from break, I want to really dig into what we can do to support what all three of your efforts are. We can't talk about it enough. It just warms my heart to see that you guys are the tip of the spear, so to speak, and have been, second recognition in this aspect of it. And what I love about this is, one, because I went to San Diego State, as did Kristen, but focusing on the world of work and getting this meaningful, you're going to get your degree, you're going to get experience in the work, and I got some more questions for Danny on this. I want you all to opine in on when we return with Joanna Brooks, Associate Vice President at SDSU for Faculty Advancement and Student Success, joined by her colleague Jessica Barlow, Executive Director of the Center for Regional Sustainability, SAGE Project Faculty Director, and Danny Newell, Executive Director of SDSU Career Services. I'm Drew Schlosberg with Cloudcast Media, and we're going to be back after this short break.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast in our 20th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. So pleased to have in this august group from San Diego State University, Joanna Brooks, Associate Vice President at SDSU, joined by Jessica Barlow, Executive Director of Center for Regional Sustainability, and Danny Newell, Executive Director of SDSU Career Services. Danny, when you talk about what you folks working with 70,000 businesses or whatever the case may be, we all know that small business is the core of any major metro. Yes, we can talk about our big businesses, and that's fine. San Diego is not a Fortune 500 town, as we know. But Danny, how closely do you work with the San Diego Workforce Partnership and the EDC? Here are the jobs in 2026, and here are the jobs that are going to be here in 2000, maybe even 27 and 28.
Yeah, we're working closely both with the San Diego Workforce Partnership and the EDCs. We actually formed a committee a few years ago. It's called the Campus and Community Collaboration Committee. We call it C4. The objective of the committee was to bring all of the players throughout the region, the SBDC, Small Business Development Centers, Chambers of Commerce, workforce boards, Offices of Economic Development, CBOs, community colleges, educators, to help create a framework to attract more funding to San Diego to create more jobs. As a result of that collective, last year we brought in over $4 million new external dollars to support career
Congratulations. That is huge. And for us folks who know that it's all about, have we got some kids interested in what they're passionate about. I will say this, and it's about time we did it. Better late than never. We've known this since people were walking upright. When you focus on their passions, they tend to extend what they're doing. K-12 is getting it more than they used to. They're understanding it, working with groups like Devin Vadishka's Learning Center Collaborative, all focused on the learner. Joanna, talk about that.
Well, yeah, and we're starting to build, following up on what Danny shared, we're building San Diego Workforce Partnership tools into the curriculum from year one, from day one. Most first-year students enroll in a general studies course their first semester, and they use San Diego Workforce Partnership tools like their RIASEC interest finders, which helps them map themselves via their interest directly on San Diego, regional industries for which growth is projected. And they can click right through from their RIASEC, profile, which is a nationally validated tool for helping people find their way in the career sector, into where, the profiles of the regional jobs that will be available for them. And in our community, many of those jobs are public sector jobs, are healthcare jobs. And so the amazing evidence-based research collaborations that our faculty undertake help fill out the pathway from your first year, your interests, into actual work in the community that then can become a career in a way that really returns value to the San Diego region.
Have you folks been to the Linda Vista Innovation Center?
I have not.
You're going to be, all three of you. It's where Classroom of the Future Foundation is housed. The County Office of Education bought the building where Thrive was in, the Thrive Charter. And it's all about the different labs that are tied to the new sectors that are growing in every one of those sectors, every one of the kids that come through it to the RISEC, which is near and dear. And then I'm also going to introduce you to Journeys Map. And if you're familiar with Journeys Map, it's an app that lets kids know, or adults or whatever, this is where I am, this is where I want to go, and they do an interest survey and a tied to a skills survey. It's just in your wheelhouse. Let me start with you, Joanna, and talk. First of all, what you guys doing is amazing. This is great stuff. This is not going to be the last time you're going to be on the show. We need to continue this conversation. And if this is not a plus for why students should go to San Diego State, I don't know what is in this area. Well, so talk about some of the challenges moving forward. Okay, and we'll start with you, Joanna, and then pivot over to Jessica, and then to Danny. We'll all end with what our listeners could do to support you in those challenges. Start with you, Joanna.
So one thing we see in our classrooms is that many, many talented students are also working to pay their own way through college, and some of them to put food on the table at home. And there has been historically a gap in support for students who might want to go into a public serving field like teaching, like social work, where long required internships or apprenticeships have been historically non-funded, which is prohibitive. If you're working already 20 to 30 hours a week, helping put food on the table at home, buying your gasoline, buying your tires, buying your grandma's tires, which, we have students who are doing this. How then do you transition into the internships that are essential to the workforce in this region, especially community-facing roles? Really proud to share that there is a new program launching in the College of Education, Student Support Services Teacher Prep Program, which will provide a $10,000 stipend for student teachers starting in the 26-27 academic year. We welcome programs like this that make community-facing work, public service work, an area in which our researchers excel and add great value, more accessible to our very deserving and hardworking SDSU students.
Well, there's no question about that. And Jessica, when you talk about the nonprofits, which we're passionate about, I've been fortunate enough to have been on a whole bunch of nonprofit boards and still sit on them, working closely with USD, a Nonprofit Institute, or working with UCSD or SDSU. The biggest misnomer in the world is the fact that nonprofits don't connect and don't contribute to the economic workforce. They do a huge amount on that. So maybe, Jessica, you can talk about that, the importance of our nonprofits as an economic base, and then some of the things that we can do, our listeners can do to support your efforts.
Yeah, gosh, I don't know where we'd be without all of our nonprofit partners. We have so many great partners that we collaborate with, especially in the National City and southeastern San Diego region, but really all around. And they're particularly constrained. I mean, even municipalities are these days too, because of so many cuts to federal funding that have been happening, and or grants even being terminated. And what that is.
And this will pass, by the way. That's Drew's prediction.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But that's really limiting their capacity. I mean, they've had to lay off people, they've had to cancel projects, and so that sometimes makes it hard for us to partner with them because they just don't have the capacity to add to their day of working with us and our students, even if we are helping, with the project. So again, resources are always a challenge, but one thing I've noticed about nonprofits is they're really scrappy too, and they find ways to push their kind of missions forward in the best way that they can, and we just want to support them as best we can with our capacity, what we have available.
Well, you look at the 30,000 plus students and even growing at San Diego State, and all the alumni that are with it, hundreds of thousands, and the work that you, Jessica, and Joanna are doing, and of course with Danny, which is absolutely life-changing, impact-changing, and all that business. And Danny, here you are, with many of the students that go to state are first-gen students. We all know that. And because they're first-gen, may not have had the opportunities to volunteer or be involved. But now you're showing, look at this quadruple positive sort, that you're not only getting your degree, you're helping out in the community, you're laying the basis for you to get gainful employment is phenomenal. What can we do to support what you're doing and career services at SDSU?
Yeah, I think one of the challenges is students have a hard time communicating their experiences. And I think right now with artificial intelligence and AI, they are using it to help them build resumes, apply for jobs, which is fine. We encourage the use of AI. But during an interview, we're seeing students regurgitate AI language, and it's not really in their own words. And so I think helping students understand, no matter where you apply, the employer is going to want three things: skills, expertise, experience. So what can you do? What do you know? And where have you applied it?
100%. And one thing, we're Laser Beam, the Classroom of the Future Foundation. We just came off with our 9th annual College and Career Pathways Summit. We do it. We have our partners, National University. We had some nice SDSU folks there as well. I mean, we're all in this together, for God's sake, but we're not rowing in the same direction. Not a good thing. AI can't out-human humans, and that sounds like an obvious statement, but it's not necessarily, in this area. So several things. One, you're all going to get an invitation to the Vista Innovation Center.
Awesome.
I'm going to send you folks, you'll be my guest at the 23rd Annual Classroom of the Future Foundation Innovation and Education Awards. It's taking place on May 14 at SeaWorld, where you're going to see the latest and greatest of some of the folks that we recognize a great innovation in the classroom. And then I'm going to introduce you to Journey's Map. And the other thing I'm going to do, and hope you're going to say yes, want you folks on, at minimum, a quarterly basis, to bring in some of those students that are learning to do this, bring in, the projects as we talked about before, whether it's national, school districts. So think about this. I'll probably work, with your team to give you some dates to come back in. You cannot talk about this enough, what you're doing. I don't think people are aware of the phenomenal stuff you're doing in this aspect, and we're going to shine a light on it as long as I'm sitting in this position, and hopefully I'm sitting in this position for a while.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
It's my honor. Let's go around the room. We got to make sure that Danny can make his Zoom discussion over here. Danny, any final comments?
Thank you for having us
We're just getting started. Joanna, any comments?
And just the point of AI can't out-human humans. It's the relationships that matter. So thank you for having us in. Thank you to our community partners. Thank you to our students and their families for believing in SDSU. We are very invested in maintaining, building, continuing the good relationships we have with the community.
That's good. And Jessica, how about you?
I agree with everything Joanna said and Danny as well. So thank you.
Okay, so for our listeners, get used to those three. You're going to see them come back on a consistent basis and bringing in the students that have benefited from this, the nonprofits that have been involved, and hopefully in 2036 they'll be back on to talk about their third Carnegie Award recognition. Danny and Jessica and Joanna, thank you for giving up so much of your time. We're looking forward to having you come back on multiple times to share the great work you're doing.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kristen Fogel, thank you for your SDSU graduate support again. We're Aztecs for life, for God's sake.
Indeed, yeah. I'll keep going until they kick me out.
Well, and then when you're going to be Dr. Kristen Fogel, when you get in the PhD?
That's a whole other discussion,
That's
Drew.
a whole other discussion. And to our audience, we hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.